Donut Bag is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Your data is your business. Protect it with ExpressVPN. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to the link listed in my Twitter profile. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Donut Bag. This episode, I welcome back Joe Rutter from TribLive.com, and we are talking about the latest on the Steelers. Season is approaching. We're about 3 weeks away, so things are starting to come together. I'm so excited. It'll be nice to have football again. Hopefully things are somewhat normal. I am going to the first 3 or 4 home games, so I'm really hoping that I'm actually allowed to go to the games, so we'll see. Hey, how's everyone doing? This is this is kind of a short episode, so we'll compare to some of the ones I've done previously. So yeah, how's everyone doing? If you can, please leave a 5-star review on iTunes if you can. If you leave a review, I'll read it here. Every podcast has to say that. That's about it. That's all I got. So anyway, here is my talk with Joe Rutter about the Steelers. Donut Bag starts right now. Let's talk Steelers. This was the last day of training camp in front of the public?
In front of the fans. They have one more practice on Thursday. Then they gear up for the Lions on Saturday night.
Interesting. What was that? You were joking about the slip and slide, right? They didn't really do a slip and slide after the...
No, they had about a 3 or 4 yard swath of the field covered with the tarp, or the tarp was out there, and it looked like a slip and slide. But no, before practice started, they had it rolled up and got off the field. But that's all I could think of when I saw it.
Looked like it. It sure looked like a slip and slide.
Hey, we were trying to take bets on who would run out and do it first, but nobody. I don't think Tom would have been amused by
that. Yeah. So I mean, did it rain hard all day? I know. Where I was, it rained hard.
It rained. I mean, hard beforehand. It did rain during practice and was coming down decently. I wouldn't say it was a downpour. Then it would let up. Then it would rain a little more. By the end of practice, it pretty much had cleared up. But it was, it gave them a taste of what they can encounter in a regular season. He did have them in pads, which I was a little surprised about because it seems to be there's maybe more of a chance of injury with the pads on. But he was like, look, these are the conditions we're going to have to face during the year. So that's what they did. They repped in the rain, and I think had there been lightning, they may have moved it indoors. But just the fact that it was a heavy rain, they just decided to stay at Heinz.
Yeah. I mean, if it's raining during the game, you're going to play. So hey, why not practice in it? Seems like one of the developments today was Cam Sutton playing inside corner. Is there any, is it clear what's going to happen with where Cam Sutton's going to play? Is he going to play outside, inside, both? Who's going to be the slot corner sometimes? Who's going to be the outside corner? Do we know anything right now?
I think that's still very much up for grabs. I mean, Antoine Brooks came back today, and had he not gotten hurt and missed about 10 days to almost 2 weeks, then you could say that maybe he's, in the mix there, but he just came back after that long absence from the Hall of Fame game. Arthur Millett's been with the first team, and you can't really tell with what they've done so far whether he's been good or bad. But the fact they put Cam Sutton in there for a little bit today shows that at least they're going to take a look at that and see how he does inside versus having like a James Pierre on the outside. They've been mixing James Pierre in some when Joe Hayden's had days off. So, I think it's something they want to look at, and, this might as well try it now before, things heat up. And, they were doing some game planning today for the preseason. They do that for the third preseason game to try to simulate, what a regular season week of practice would be like. So, they were game planning, and that would indicate that maybe they're at least willing to put Cam Sutton inside during the season.
Interesting. Since it's the third preseason game, and that's usually the one where the starters play a little bit, is that the plan that the the starters are going to play just a little bit?
I would think so. I mean, I think you're going to see Ben Roethlisberger out there for a series or two. Played maybe the first quarter a little more. But I think you're going to see the first team offensive line out there for a good bit, even after Ben leaves. I wouldn't be surprised if they play at least a half. You want to try to get them, acclimated to each other and get some cohesion there. I'm trying to think, like Minkah Fitzpatrick, I don't think has played yet. These are the games where guys like him and Joe Hayden, Cam Hayward, you're going to expect to see them in there a little bit. If you don't, I don't think that's anything alarming because these veteran guys don't need to prove anything. And you're certainly not going to see Stephon Tuitt or TJ Watt, who have not taken any practice reps so far.
Yeah. How about Joe Schobert? Big trade, bringing him in. What is the plan for how they're going to use him? It sounds like he's already getting the green dot, so it sounds like he's going to play a lot.
Yeah, he's going to be out there alongside Devin Bush. And, the fact he's wearing the green dot means he'll call the signals. He's a veteran guy, more experience, although not in this defense. That's one less thing Devin Bush has to worry about as he's coming back from his knee injury. And I'm not sure if I don't think it's an indication that Devin Bush is behind in his rehab. But again, you can't expect somebody who had surgery in October to 10 months later, be completely healthy, especially at a speed position like that. So, it may take him a little time to ease back in there. The question to me comes, if they go to the dime defense and you got 6 defensive backs out there, you got 1 inside linebacker, who's it going to be, Schobert or Bush? Indications from Joe Schobert were that he was told he'll be there every down. He's played every down in the past. Devin Bush did too last year until he got hurt. So, one of those guys is going to come off the field in certain third down packages. And I would say right now it's leaning towards Devin Bush being the guy.
I wonder if Schobert getting the green dot is also to help Devin Bush out a little bit mentally. I've heard it described that, the green dot is basically you're just getting signals from the coaches and stuff, but still it's less of a thing that you have to worry about. You just have to worry about playing and when you don't have the green dot. So do you think that was just done also to help Devin Bush mentally?
It could be, and in fact, he is a young player and, maybe they threw it at him a little bit last year before he was ready. And I think they would prefer to have a more established type player out there doing that. Joe Schobert is that kind of guy. When they had Vince Williams in the past do that, he was comfortable making those calls. So, I don't see it as a slight against Devin Bush, but yeah, it is one less thing he has to think about. And I think they want him going out there and just playing and not having to think about things. Just go do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Any news on TJ Watt getting signed?
Not that I have heard. He's still doing the same things in practice, conditioning, a little bit of individual stuff. He does hit the tackling dummy on occasion. He works on his moves, pass rush moves, but not with anybody really blocking in front of him. So it's, but yeah, you would like to think that they get something done soon because you've got to at some point get him practiced and ready for the start of the season. It doesn't have to be for this 3rd preseason game or even maybe the 4th one, but you've got to start getting him out there and getting him into football shape. And, as it drags out more, I think then it becomes a big time distraction because if he's not practicing and they're a week out from the regular season, then what happens? Is he still not going to practice until they get the deal done? They might not get it done. I would like to think they will, but I think it's not a big issue yet, but it has in a week or so. It has a potential to be a very big issue.
Yeah. What about Stefan Tuitt? He hasn't been. He's there, but he's not really doing anything. At least TJ Watt is doing like individual drills or something like that, but Stefan Tuitt is doing nothing. Is there a concern that he's not going to be ready for the season?
The more he's out, I would think there's a possibility of that. He's working a lot on conditioning right now, which is indicative of someone who didn't have any off-season workouts, who missed mini camp. They were obviously expecting him to be there for mini camp, and he probably would be up to speed had the tragic accident not happened with his brother. And he's been back in Georgia helping his mother, who obviously is going through a very difficult time. And you can imagine that maybe that has Stefan has not been able to condition and train as well as he has in the past, so he's going to have to catch up. But the longer this goes on, makes you wonder. I don't know if there's an exempt list or anything like that, but I could see the possibility of him not being ready to start the season. Although the Steelers probably aren't ready to admit that right now.
Yeah. They did restructure his contract to create more cap space. Is there any indication what they're going to do with all this extra cap space? Because right now the amount of cap space they have is pretty significant. Yeah,
it's estimates I think were between 15 and maybe 18 million, if I'm not mistaken. Some of that I think goes to Watt if there's an extension. The Steelers typically like to, when they sign these players to these deals, not change the current year and then put all the money into the back ends of the contract. Well, they might not be able to do that with TJ Watt. So they might have to, give him a little more upfront for this season, or with the signing bonus, maybe his value or his cap number for this year has to go up. So I think that's where the money could go. And again, I think that, the cornerback market, whether they're committed to keeping Cam Sutton inside or outside, they might still be looking to try to make a move there. As we've seen so far, Kevin Colbert is not standing pat. He wants to improve this team, and he's not afraid to make bold moves in order to make it happen.
Yeah, he's made a lot of moves lately, so yeah, we'll see. On to the offense. Is Chase Claypool okay? Looks like he avoided a bit of an injury scare.
Yeah, he was out on the field today, Wednesday. He didn't practice, but he was walking around. There was no brace. There was no, he didn't have his ankle taped. He didn't have crutches or a boot or anything like that. So that's an indication that it's a minor injury. Maybe he practices tomorrow. Maybe they keep him out until after this game because it's not necessary that he's in there. But yeah, I think the Steelers, dodged a bullet there when, as it turned out. But when you see him coming off the field and being helped off by two teammates, that makes you at first think it's something serious. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah. It looks like they avoided a big scare there, so that's good. James Washington spoke today, and I'm sure the subject of a trade request came up. What did he have to say about that?
He ducked the question pretty much, said it was a private conversation. You didn't expect him to really say much else, but he said he loves Pittsburgh. And he said who wouldn't love playing football for their job? And that's true. And, he's being paid a decent amount of money to do that. Now, again, he'll be a free agent end of the year, unless the Steelers find some way to extend him. But why would he take an extension if there's uncertainty over his playing time? And unless he gets, a bigger role with the Steelers, how's he going to hit it in free agency when his playing time is kind of stagnant? So that's kind of the dilemma he faces. And he wants to play more. He's made that known. And that's no secret. I mean, the guy, when he's been in there, has done pretty well. After his rookie season, the last 2 years, he's been a very reliable, dependable receiver for Ben Roethlisberger. The problem is they've got three other guys they like, and then, do different things on the field that are just as impressive, if not more.
Yeah, it's funny that, you look at what happened to Chase Claypool, and that's why you don't trade a guy like James Washington, because you might get hurt, and you're going to need somebody like him to step up. So probably not going to trade him, right?
I would be reluctant to, unless you think you've got somebody developed in these younger receivers, these undrafted free agents, that there's something there that somebody could step in and be a fourth receiver. I don't see Ray McLeod jumping up to take over that kind of role. Maybe one of these younger guys does. I haven't seen anybody really, be eye-popping to that extent in camp. But, you hold on to them and because injuries are going to happen. And when you have three receivers like that, not all are going to go through all 16 games. And, there's times when the Steelers may go for wide receivers again. He could be the guy on the field.
The offensive line is at least the projected starters are actually playing together now. Are they looking better?
I think we won't know that too much until they play in a game and, they get some more time with themselves. Kendrick Green kind of got bowled over a little bit today on one play and came off for a couple snaps, then went back in. Zach Banner was given a little bit of a breather, and they looked at Dan Moore on the right side at right tackle. So they're still kind of mixing and matching, trying to see other guys. But, yeah, I think you'll see the offensive line get a long look against the Lions, and they're going to need to get a lot of work here over the next few weeks as they get ready for Buffalo, because that right now is the biggest glaring thing on this team is, can the offensive line be able to block, especially for Najee Harris, and, be pass blockers for Roethlisberger.
Yeah. About the running backs, do you think there's the battle is to make the team is between Jalen Samuels and Kalen Ballage, or are they both going to make it, or who do you think looks better there?
I've liked what I've seen from Kalen Ballage. He's bounced around a little bit, never's really had a home, but he's got really fast feet. He's a quick running back for his size. And he seems like he can do a lot of things. And I think that's a guy you want to keep around on your team in some capacity. Jalen Samuels has done, I don't know if you say anything to hurt his chances, but I haven't seen him do anything really to, improve his chances either. So I think he's, on the bubble. Benny Snell missing a lot of time. I wouldn't say he's safe by any stretch. I think Anthony McFarland is. I think he's maybe the only one, aside from, Derek Watt being the fullback. There are some questions there, and barring a trade at that position, which I don't know if anybody would want to trade for a Benny Snell, but barring any kind of trade, I still think somehow Kalen Ballage gets on this team, and if I had to say so right now, maybe at the expense of Jalen Samuels.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that. Is there anybody that either on offense or defense you see that's a surprise that might make the team?
Make the team. Jameer Jones, outside linebacker, has a chance. He's been impressive in what we've seen so far. They've got some young guys at corner and safety that they're kind of looking at too, that have done well in spurts. Mark Gilbert, Shakur Brown, but I would say Jameer Jones at outside linebacker is a possibility. Although Quincy Roche being a draft pick, the Steelers might not be able to take both on their roster. Inside linebacker, there might be somebody that can force out, outside. One of those young guys could force out Cassius Marsh, possibly. And on offense, all the tight ends have looked pretty good. It would be hard. You're going to lose one of those guys, Gentry or Rader, and neither one has played poorly in camp. But I think Pat Freiermuth's done enough where I think the Steelers want to see him on the field more and see what he can do. Which might push. Might cut into Eric Ebron's playing time somewhat.
Interesting. Is it a foregone conclusion that Presley Harvin is going to beat out Jordan Berry for the punter position?
I don't know if it's a foregone conclusion, but I think the Steelers very much want to have him be their punter. I think, he was out there taking snaps. I mean, they alternated, but he was out there taking snaps with Chris Boswell kicking. He was working as the holder today for a good part of camp. And he's, they want to continue this through there. Now, Jordan Berry isn't going quietly. He had a pretty good game against the Eagles. So, I think he's, he wants to try to hang on to his job, but, they didn't keep him last year at the expense of Dustin Colquitt. So you've got the strong-legged rookie coming in. I could see the Steelers, taking the chance again that Presley Harvin's their guy.
Interesting. All right, sir. Why didn't you get on the slide?
If they would have let me down there, and if I would have had dry clothes to put back on, I would have certainly done it. But I was not invited to that part.
you guys were undercover, right? You were in the press box.
Yes, I was in the press box. So
That's
that was
okay.
fun.
That's at least okay. At least they didn't subject you. They didn't have to subject the press people to the wet conditions. So that's good.
No, that doesn't do much good on the laptop. So we.
Oh, that's true. All right, sir. Hey, thanks so much.
Okay, anytime, Joe.
All right, take it easy.
Okay.